If I was to ask you who is running things at DC Studios, you might state the obvious. It's James Gunn, of course. He's co-lead with Peter Safran. However, James Gunn repeatedly makes statements that makes me doubt he's actually in charge of anything. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake Vidcast, where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. If you want to support me in the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. The link is in the description of the video. You can sign up at different tiers that unlock different perks. Thank you in advance. And like I said, if I was to ask you who is running DC Studios and the new DC Universe film franchise, you would say James Gunn. He's co-leading it with Peter Safran. Duh, Jacob, what are you talking about? Yes, DC Studios is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers Discovery, but still, he's the one who's doing this. I mean, he did The Suicide Squad, he did Peacemaker, he's about to do Peacemaker Season 2, he just directed Superman, he's teeing us up for Supergirl and The Batman Part 2. Who else would be in charge? However, he made a statement very recently that made me sort of doubt just how in charge he actually is. And I want to thank Bounding into Comics. They are all of the headlines I'm going to show you, so when you're done watching this video, check out their website. Okay, to start with, the announcement that Superman is going to be released digitally and on DVD, possibly, just 35 days after it was released from theaters. And instead of saying, oh yeah, we just decided to do this, we want to recoup and get some more money through rentals and stuff since it's kind of tapering off, that's not what he does. Instead, he says that Peacemaker Season 2 is to blame and that there are circumstances out of his control. Didn't he just direct the movie? What circumstances are out of his control? That statement made no sense to me, like zero goose egg. You are the co-lead of the franchise. Why would the circumstances be out of your control, especially for a movie that you produced, directed, and helped write? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And this is really what prompted that particular headline. And I confirmed it with other sources. He went around saying this. It was out of my control. Are you in control or not? Or is James Gunn just sort of a fall guy for Warner Brothers Discovery? I found an article where the actress who portrays Lois Lane in Superman and Lois, the Arrowverse connected CW series, where she says he's not to blame for the collapse of the Arrowverse. Now, to be fair, the Arrowverse started long before James Gunn was in charge of DC Studios. That TV franchise definitely was starting to unravel, even though they kind of got their footing back with their Crisis adaptation, but still, it never fully materialized and never really recovered from its ratings collapse. But then James Gunn comes along and it gets canceled and he's not to blame. Again, who is in charge? And now we come to the battle over the Batman. So the Batman Part 2 gets delayed. I personally think James Gunn wanted it delayed. I think he was stalling, that he was sending back the script so he could say it wasn't finished. Now, I have heard on the flip side that Matt Reeves was sick, that he was very sick, he was very ill, and that's why the movie wasn't being created. Maybe that will be clarified later on. But one thing that people were debating is, should the Batman be a part of the DCU? Now, if you ask me, no, I don't think it should. But there are people who are like, hey, just let Robert Pattinson be grafted on. Now, James Gunn doesn't want that because then the Batman is actually the start of the DCU, not Superman. That's why he placed it in the Elseworlds sort of story, and it became known as the Batman Crime Saga film franchise, as opposed to being a part of the DCU film franchise, which of course replaced Zack Snyder's DCEU. So where does this go? Because David Zaslav is rumored to have been putting pressure on James Gunn to put the Batman just in the DCU. Why are we double casting here, especially for theatrical releases? Now, James Gunn doesn't want to do that. He, for some reason, is totally against this idea. However, he gave an interview where he said that it's a non-zero chance. Okay, what does that mean? That means that there is a possibility. Is he Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber saying, "You're saying I have a chance"? What? Dude, you're in charge. Or is David Zaslav actually in charge? Now, David Zaslav is the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns DC Comics and DC Studios. So maybe he is putting pressure and James Gunn is just trying to fight it. Maybe that's what led to the delay of the Batman Part 2. Who's to say? Personally, I think that they need to, what's the word I'm looking for? They need to not put the Batman in DCU. That needs its own Batman. If you would like me to do a video discussing why I think that, please comment below. I would love to share that. But I think it's just kind of weird that David Zaslav is putting pressure on him, and then now he's saying, yeah, there's a non-zero chance, but it's unlikely. Okay, what? Make up your mind, man. Is it going to happen or not? You're in charge, or at least co-in charge. And finally, the clincher for me that really convinced me that maybe he's not as in charge as we think we are, if at all, is the cancellation of a lot of his projects. The Authority and the delay of Clayface all seems to me that it's not him who is actually writing this ship. Maybe he is the mastermind, so he's laying out the roadmap for how they're going to do the movies. Maybe he's saying we should do it in this order. But also, no one really cares about Sergeant Rock and the Authority outside of a few like major DC fans. Now, I'm more of a Marvel fan. Batman keeps me embedded in the DC universe because Batman is my favorite superhero. But I don't really care about the Authority. I don't really care about Sergeant Rock. I mean, those are kind of niche. Point is, these were part of his world that he was building. And instead of going forward with those, especially after the nominal success Superman has had, they're shutting those movies down. We don't even know what's next outside of Supergirl. And oh, I take that back. We have a pretty good idea of what he wants to do, but with these movies canceled and unrealized, where's it going to go? It seems to me that Zaslav is pressuring him to use stronger IPs like Wonder Woman, because otherwise he brought up the script. Remember, he was telling Gal Gadot that she was going to be Wonder Woman again and then totally backstab her. There is one thing can be for sure. James Gunn, yes, he might be a very talented director, but he's kind of a liar and he's kind of a perv. I mean, if you don't believe me about the perv stuff, just look up why he was fired from Disney originally. But I digress on that. The man does not seem to actually be in charge of his own studio. If he's not, he either needs to take control or he needs to walk away, because this is insane to me that there is just so much going on. Personally, I think Zaslav, who gets a lot of criticism from the Hollywood press because he doesn't come from film or television, he comes like from the Home Shopping Network. He's kind of an outsider when it comes to entertainment industry. So he gets a lot of negative press from like the Hollywood people, the New York people, the Atlanta people, everywhere where there's sort of a Hollywood conglomerate. He gets criticized for being an outsider, really not anything to do with his business bona fides. But I think maybe that's why he is setting up Gunn to be his fall guy. I honestly think J.J. Abrams might have been. J.J. Abrams deserves it, though. The man ruined Star Wars, right along with Rian Johnson. Gunn, I'm not so sure. He's at least a competent director, and I enjoyed Superman. You can read my review of it on my website. Link is in the description of the video. But I think that that is what is happening. I honestly believe James Gunn is being set up to be some sort of fall guy should the DCU fail. The question is, will he take it on the chin as he appears to be doing whenever he opens up his big mouth about it? It's like he wants all of the credit but none of the blame. But I have a feeling he's going to get most of the blame. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment to what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming channel member. If you want to support me and the work that I do, head on over to my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. It's where you can subscribe at different tiers that unlock different perks, including being able to choose the topic for the website or here on the vidcast. That's a pretty good deal. In fact, I've had videos made recently from some subscribers, so definitely check those out. Thank you in advance. At that same website, there's a conveniently titled Buy My Books section. You can pick up one or all four of my novels. They're all available across several links, but you can find them on Amazon.com. Check them out. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.